Hi guys, it's Kinsey here with Canine Communication, and today we are going to be going over the e-collar. E-collars, when used correctly, are super fantastic tools for communication. Here at Canine Communication, we only work with two brands of e-collars. Ecollar Technologies, which is what this guy is, and Dog Truck. The reason we only work with these two brands is because they're reliable, they've got a great reputation, and I trust them. Other than these two, we won't work with any other e-collars. Today's video is going to be on the Mini Educator, which is my preferred training collar. I'm very used to it and it works really well. I like the way that the collar handles. So this is what the video is going to be on. This is going to be on the functionality of the collar, what all of the different buttons mean, and it's kind of just a refer back to for you guys that have gotten a collar and you need a refresher on how to use it. These guys have 100 different levels of stimulation. So it's used a lot for low-level remote collar training, which is what we do for off-leash trained dogs. It's very communicatory. And then it's also used for high-level correctors. I like to say that these guys are informational and correctional. These guys are not, however, directional. So teaching an off-leash trained dog, we would start on a leash, typically with a prong, that are both informational, correctional, and directional, and then phase them off of it. But that's a whole separate video. Today we're just going to be showing you how to actually use this guy, set it up, how to charge it, what all the different things that you get in your box mean. So let's get right into it. Oh geez, all the things falling out. So this is just the lanyard that fell out. I got excited and opened up the box, so it's, yeah. This guy just has the Ecollar Technologies website on it. I love using the lanyard. I will often forget that I'm wearing the collar and it just becomes a part of my wardrobe like a big flashy necklace. If you guys don't like using the lanyard, they do have a couple of other options. I believe they have some holsters on the website, maybe a clip that you can put on the back of the actual remote. I typically just use this, but they do have other options if you guys wanted something else. In this box, it also comes with a clicker. Not all of the boxes come with clickers. This is just a set that I got. Clickers are great tools, but they're a whole different video in and of themselves about how to use them, but this does come with one. Other than that, we have up here our charging cord, which just has our two different guys on the back that plug into the back of both of these guys. They have the same charging port. Then we have our little bag of tools up here, which I will get into in a hot sec. And I'm sorry about my camera work, you guys. It's kind of coming in and out, but I wanted to get this video out to you because I've been telling you that I would for a while, so we just have to get it done. Okay, and then your big things here are going to be your collar and your remote, and that's what our main focus is going to be on. Come on, remote. And then, of course, underneath here is where you will find your instruction manual. Great to refer back to this. I know I'm more visual, however, which is why I'm putting out this video. So if you guys want a quick guide or a reference to come back to on what the whole function of the e-collar is, you can. But instruction manual is there for a reason. If you've got other questions, this is really good to refer back to. All right. Let's get into the actual functionality of the collar. So this guy, your remote, and this guy, in order to turn on your actual collar, you will need your remote. If you see this red little dot by your collar, you will have a red little dot right here. If you connect the two, it's going to blink green, and that means that it's on. Just because this is on, however, does not mean that this is on, and vice versa when turning them off. They turn it on and off independent of each other. As you can see, this remote is off, but it was still able to turn the collar on. So just keep that in mind when you're turning them off. In order to turn this guy on, there's a button on the back here with an L on it, the big button. You're going to hold that down, and it will turn on. Boom! Now, with this guy, it does come with another set of contact points. These are the long contact points. on it are the shorter ones. In order to switch these out, we're going to go to our little handy dandy toolkit. You should come with 3 little tools. This little, I want to say wrench, tool, something or another, this is what you would use to change out your contacts. So if I go here, I'll try to do this without getting in the way. Let's see if I can show you guys. And here, that's what fits in with your contact points, and then you would just unscrew it. One tip is when you're taking off the contact points, just get it to where it's finger loose, and then take this guy off and undo it with your hands. If you just undo it with the tool, and that's in there, it's really freaking hard to get out. So you kind of have to screw it back on in order to pull it out. So just something to keep in mind when you're switching out contact points. If you're having a hard time getting contact on a dog, you can try the longer contact points. These are obviously for long-haired dogs. I also randomly will sometimes use them on labs that I'm having a really hard time getting contact with. Sometimes these will help, but play around with it. The other tool that you get in your little kit is this guy. What this guy is used for is, if you look on the sides of your remote, it has these little spots in it, which this guy fits into. What this is for is to pry these guys open to take off the outer shell. The only time you ever take off the outer shell is if you bought a different one and want to customize it, or maybe it gets dirty, I don't know, but I never take this off. That's what it's there for though. And then it just pops back into place. Your last tool is going to be this guy, which I will get to in a hot sec. So, in order to change the stimulation, you're going to go to this upper dial and twist. You can see it there. You'll see a couple of different letters represented here on the front of the remote. M, C, and a 1D that's blinking. The 1D simply means it's a one-dog collar. When this is important is if you're working on a multi-dog collar, which Ecollar Technologies does make, is you will have a 1D blinking here, a 2D blinking here, and it will let you know what collar you're on that you're stimming on. But for all the intents and purposes of this video, that doesn't really mean anything. It's not going to change. The M and the C, however, are important. They stand for momentary and continuous, and this is the type of stims that you use. When the M and the C are both present on the front screen, the top button here, the black one, is going to be momentary. And if you look here, when I press, the stim will be represented on the front. So momentary. And then if you hold the bottom button, it's continuous. So it gives a continuous stimulation. No matter how long I hold the momentary, it's just going to do like a little nick. Those will also be represented on the collar. So you see the lights are represented together. The continuous stim does have a safety feature. So after, I believe it's 20 seconds, it will automatically shut off. There it goes. What the continuous is typically used for is low-level remote collar training, when we're training off-leash dogs, when we're using a dog's working level at the lowest level they can feel it at. A working level simply means it's the lowest level the dog perceives, and that can change throughout training as well. If you see here, my working level, I'm going to change it, is a level 6, and I'll hold it on a continuous. I barely feel that. To me, I feel it more so at a level 10. Slightly uncomfortable, but it's nothing to be worried about for me. When I started Floki, my personal dog, he was a level 6, and as he became more in tune with the collar, he dropped down to a level 2. He works typically within a 2 and a 4, depending on what environment he is in, and occasionally we'll go a little bit higher if it's a really high distraction environment. So that's something to keep in mind. Dogs' working levels may change based on environment, and they may also change on how in tune they are with the collar. When you start off with the collar, they might be a little bit higher and then go down later. That's why the working level is a little bit more nuanced in how you work with it and how you train with it. For the correction levels, it's pretty easy. You turn it up, and I typically will just hit the momentary. I don't really use the continuous for a correction level. That's not what it's really needed for. The continuous is more so for low-level remote collar training. Then you'll see on the other side here, there is a T that stands for tone. That's the vibrate button. I don't really use the vibrate. I find more dogs are sensitive to the vibrate mode than they are to the stimulation. Occasionally, I do use the vibrate depending on the dog. Again, all dogs are very individual, and the way that the training happens with them is individual as well. So do what works for you. The tone is actually one of the only ways that I got Floki to stop whining, because it was such a different sensation. He went, "What?" And he just stopped, because he was a gigantic whiner when I first got him. But again, I typically don't use the tone for much. The other thing about it is it's not adjustable. It just is what it is. You can't make it lower, you can't make it higher. It's just a vibration. So I don't really work with the tone, but that's what the button is used for. With the M and the C that are represented on front here, you can change to just do momentary or continuous if you want. And I'll try to get it so that you can see it. I know I don't have great camera work, I'm sorry. I'm trying hard. Let's see. There, you can sort of see it. If I were to go to the back and press the small button, let me get back into focus here. You just hit that, it's going to change to just an M on the front. What that means is now both of these buttons are momentary. See that? How it just stims on a momentary. If I hit that button on the back again, now a C is represented on the front. Now both of these buttons are continuous. Typically, you guys will just want to leave it on both M and C, but if you accidentally get it off of momentary and continuous, that's how you would get it back. Now this is going to be momentary, and this will be continuous. Boom. Voila. Now, the last tool that was in your little bag is this guy, this little white guy. What this is, the only thing this is used for is to make sure that the collar is still working and that you can feel not that you can feel, because you're not feeling anything, but that the levels are still working. So when I stim on this, it should light up. Yep. And that's how you know that the collar stimulation is actually working. That's all it's used for. I don't really use it very much, but that's what it's there. One thing to keep in mind is this is how you change the stimulation level. One thing that you can do with this is you can do what's called locking. And that is if you hold this down, see it's on a 4. Did I do it? I think I did it. It's kind of hard to see because I'm doing it off the screen. So I put it on a 5. So I put this on a 5 and see how I'm turning it? The stimulation level is not turning. So this is going to be on a 5, and this is going to be on a 5, and it locks it into place so the stim level doesn't change. I don't like using the lock feature. I like it to be free so that I can switch between working level, correction level if I need to. But if you accidentally lock it, that's how you would get it off. Now, keep in mind, even though the stimulation is locked at a level 5, and I've been moving this around, when I take it off, the stimulation level will have moved. See, now it's at a 44 because it moved when I was moving it. So if you have it on lock at a 5 and you take it off and you want to mess with the stim, just keep in mind that that stim did still move when you had it on a lock. The other feature that this has is a boost mode. Again, I don't often use boost, but if you want to, this is how you would do it. You would go to a momentary only setting. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. Momentary only, so I hit it once, and then I would go all the way down to 0. And if you're going to use boost, please set it when the collar is not actually on your dog. Then you hold the black button. And then it will blink at you. And now it's blinking a 1. So then if I wanted to set a boost mode, let's go ahead and set it to 20. Okay, now I'm going to hit the side button again. So now it's on a 20. So say I go to a level 5. Let's do 5. Math, easy, 5. So now that I'm on just a momentary mode, this top button is going to be momentary at a 5. The bottom button will be the boost. So now it's at a 25. And you can set that to whatever you want to. I typically just set my boost to a 1 so that I'm not, if I accidentally boost a dog, it's not on a high level. But that's how you would do it. The same is true for continuous. If you wanted to use continuous, this is what, with a multi-dog collar, I will often just put it on the continuous mode. The top button you can use as a low-level stim, and then you still have this free, so you can change what the stim is at, right? Put it at a 5. So we're working on a continuous mode, and then all of a sudden you feel like you really need to use a corrector. You can go ahead and hit the bottom button and it boosts. But I would, again, if you're using a correction level, I would just tap it. I would not hold on a correction level with continuous. Then if you want to get back, say you're on the momentary and continuous, which you can see there, it's on momentary and continuous, and you wanted to boost, so we're on continuous 5, momentary 5. If I wanted to boost on a momentary, I'm going to hit the top button first, which is a momentary, and then the bottom. Boom, boom, hits to 25. Again, if I wanted to do a continuous stim on the boost, I would hit the bottom button first, the red button, and then the top. Boom, boom. And now it's a continuous boost mode. And again, to set boost, it has to be on momentary, and it has to be all the way at 0 for you to hold this down. And then it will blink at me. And I'm going to set my boost to a level 1. So now, if I'm on a 1, okay, I'm on a 4, it should hit to a level 5. So that's where I typically leave my boost mode. Now that I'm back onto both, another really cool feature that this guy has is its lights. I love the light. So if you go to the back, the on and off button, the L button on the back here, look at your collar. If you hit it once, don't hold it, but if you just hit it once, it's going to let this guy flash. And then if you hit it a second time, it's going to give you a continuous stream of light. This is really great, especially at night, if I'm working dogs off leash, to know where they're at, to keep an eye on them. And then if you hit it again, it turns off. In a nutshell, that's what the collar is. I know it's a lot to take in. It has a lot of different functions. Where I recommend new users staying is leave it on momentary and continuous, and then leave the dial free so that you can dial up and down with what you need to do. Then you can play around with the momentary and continuous modes, and you can play around with the stimulation, and it's easy to switch when it's free like this. The nice thing about these as well is they are waterproof, so if you're going swimming with your dog or something at the beach, you can still be communicating with your dog. I like to call these an invisible leash. That's what I use them for most of all, is I want to be able to have a conversation with my dog that's way the heck over there, and this gives me the ability to do that. Often people will ask when they can let their dogs off the collars. I want to say, don't be in a rush. These are really great training tools and communication devices. So if I'm working my dog out in public, it doesn't hurt to have this on. Don't be in a rush to get the tools off, because it doesn't hurt to be able to have that communication when they're all the way over there. Hey, I need you to pay, oh, it's on a 0, that's why it's not doing anything. Hey, I need you to pay attention to me. Hold it continuous, it helps because we're able to have a conversation with a dog that's all the way across the room from us. It's just a communication device. You can tell your dog a meaningful no. You can tell your dog, hey, pay attention to me. You can break the concentration. It acts as an invisible leash. And I know that we don't, a lot of us want to get off the tools, but don't rush to get off the tools, because they're just communication devices. It doesn't hurt to have them on. Both of my personal dogs, most of the time, especially when we're out in public, I'll just have the collars on, just because you never know if I want to have a conversation or not. They have the ability to whisper, and they also have the ability to shout. One thing that I will say is, because these are informational and correctional, you do have to teach what the stimulation means when you're doing low-level remote collar training, because dogs are going to have no idea what the stimulation on their neck means at all. That has to be taught. They're going to be like, what? That means sit? What are you kidding me? But if you teach it with a leash and a collar, and you use the pressure. If you use this in conjunction with them, say I want a dog to sit, I've got a leash, I'm gonna hold it on their working level, not on a correction level, hold up, and when the dog's butt sits, it gets released. And after you do that for a really long time, they'll start to understand that's what the stimulation means. But it takes a while to actually teach them. On a correction level, it doesn't take that much to understand. You just jack it up, you hit a momentary. That's often used when dogs are doing something inappropriate, like getting into the garbage, counter surfing, rushing out the door, over anxious or excited, a lot of different things like that. Again, this is not a how-to train with this. It's more so just meant to be on the functionality of the collar and the receiver itself. It is a lot to take in, but like I said, just start off with keeping it loose on a momentary with a continuous and get comfortable with the collar. In order to turn these guys off, it's just the same as turning it on, but again, that can turn off and it will blink red. So there's green, that means it's on. Wait to make sure it blinks red. And then I like to just watch it and make sure that it's not going to do any other blinking. And then you would hold, again, this can turn the collar on and off when this is on or off. So they're independent of each other. You have to make sure that they turn off. And then, oops. Loop, and now it's off. To plug the collars in, you're going to be on the back side here and on here. One word of caution I would say if you're going swimming with these guys is make sure that your ports are closed. And then if you're on a place with a beach, just make sure that you clean off any of the sand or anything afterwards. But you can go into the water with these guys. They are waterproof. I think that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you found this helpful. I know there's a lot of different things that go on with this guy. But they really are such fantastic communication devices. They are probably the most versatile training tool in existence. I love them. I have a passion for using them. I've seen them work on numerous dogs and just communicate in a way to them that is so helpful. I typically recommend these, especially for nervous and fearful dogs. I find that this is a tool that gets through to them really easily. But any dog, really, almost any dog can be worked on an e-collar. I love these tools. I love this brand. And again, we work with Ecollar Technologies and or Dogtra, but this is the main collar that I recommend to most of you guys. Let me know what you guys think of the video, and if you have any other questions regarding the collar, anything that I missed, stuff like that. I'll see you next time. Just kidding, I forgot something. Oh goodness. Okay. Battery. With these guys, so when the collar is on, it blinks green. Because of the type of batteries these are, I have never had an issue with overcharging, but if you let the batteries die, it is very, very damaging to them. When these are getting low on battery, it will blink orange. I don't like to even let it get to the point where it blinks orange. Typically what I do is as soon as I'm done working with a dog and I take the collar off, I will plug it in. But that is something to keep in mind, is if you let the batteries die, it is super damaging for them. You can get replacement batteries, but that's always a pain in the butt, and that's a way that you can avoid having that happen. Which is why I stress so much about the fact that these turn on and off independently, because if you leave it on and it dies, it's very damaging for it. Keep that in mind. Sorry that I psyched you out with the end of the video, but I'm actually done now. Catch you next time.